Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. This is Glenn from Uplevel Systems, and I'm joined by Alan Shea from CyberSpa. He's the founder and CEO, and we're here to talk about FreshStart and how our two products can be used together to help you open up existing accounts and new accounts. So without further ado, we'll just dive in. So the problem that's being solved here is that of older, slower PCs. They've gotten a bunch of junk loaded up on them over the years. And as you look at your business customers, there's really three options. Of course, you can recommend that they buy new PCs. That costs about $1,200. You can look at somehow refurbishing them, which usually involves ghosting the drive. And that sort of tends to lend itself to the skill level of the tech. So you get fairly inconsistent quality and repeatability. And it seemed like there should be a third option, which really does the following for you. It'll improve when you're done. It won't just kind of replace the hard drive, but it'll actually improve the speed of the PC as well as the security that user has. Ideally, it wouldn't destroy any data that's on the device. So if anything goes wrong, you're not stranded. You can always go back to the old device and at least recover all the data from it. It needs to be able to be run by a tier 1 tech. That's so that you can actually make money off of it and have a consistent quality of delivery. And of course, ideally, you'd want to use this as a conversation starter. So, once you make the customer happy, move them into managed services. And that's exactly what FreshStart is. So if you look at the PCs that are out in the market today, as they start getting old, a lot of them have mechanical hard drives, and they slow down a lot because of bloatware and spyware. And Alan will tell you all about that. And what FreshStart does is it's a service that you guys can use. It actually replaces ghosting, so it can optionally be used to upgrade an OS, but you don't have to. It really is a tool meant for migrating data from an old drive to a new drive and then removing all of that bloatware and getting a nice, clean, fast image on that device. And so in the end, of course, that's what the user gets, is a nice, fast, clean PC. And also, not surprisingly, the old data on the original drive is left completely intact, so you don't destroy any data along the way. Now, the reason we're talking about it in the context of managed services is Windows 7 is going end of life in January of next year. And so this is an ideal opportunity for you guys as MSPs to start engaging your customers and consulting them around how are they going to transition off of these Windows 7 PCs. And as you can see, there's almost as many Windows 7 PCs in there, that's the yellow line, as there are Windows 10, which is the blue line. So there's roughly 700 million PCs out there right now that run Windows 7. So we're going to take advantage of that trigger to start positioning FreshStart and then start the dialogue on managed services. So with that, let me turn it over to Alan so he can walk you through the details of what FreshStart is all about. Alan?
Okay, thanks for joining us today. What is FreshStart all about? Very simply, FreshStart is the world's most comprehensive, fully automated, and effective PC security and performance solution. After about 20,000 services that are almost all 5-star, we can make that claim very comfortably. The way it works, as you see in the chart here, is actually pretty simple. The customer PC, you basically do a survey, which we'll talk about in a minute, determine how old are their computers, what kind of condition they're in, et cetera, select the right replacement drive. Using our automated imaging tool, you're going to be able to very quickly put a brand new WIM image with clean new operating system, Office, third-party software, et cetera, on that drive. You're going to swap out the drives at the customer site. You're going to connect the old drive with a SATA to USB dock or cable, and then you're going to read a good magazine while FreshStart does the rest automatically. The net result of this is the customer's computer will be, when finished, 100% malware, bloatware, and virus-free. If it's an HDD machine, it'll probably run 10 to 20 times faster than when they bought it. And the customer will be delighted with both the performance and security on that computer. Next slide. This is our drive imaging tool. This is the first thing that you do when you're setting up to provide FreshStart service. This is downloaded onto a service laptop or desktop PC in your office, and it's a very simple tool to use. All the tech is going to do is select the operating system that they are putting on the drive that's going into that new computer, which is typically whatever they're currently licensed for, or in the case of upgrades to Windows 10, whichever Windows 10 version they've acquired a key for. So that's another important thing we'll talk about in a little bit, is upgrading to Windows 10. The product works exactly the same. It does seamless upgrades from 7 to 10. Next slide, please. Once the drive is imaged, and that takes about 6 to 10 minutes depending on the speed of your service PC, all you have to do is open up the customer's laptop or desktop machine, remove the old drive, plug the new drive you have imaged into the computer, button it up, and connect the old drive with either a USB to SATA cable or drive dock, which you brought along with you to the customer site. Next slide. And as the slide says, the rest is fully automated. You'll see the screen pop up. It will tell the tech to please connect the old drive. Once it's connected, it will launch the FreshStart software. FreshStart software will then do a forensic analysis of the drive, make sure there's no ransomware, sector damage, etc. And once it's done that, it's going to search for third-party license keys so it can harvest those for easy download. It's going to set up the computer to look exactly like it did before. And once that's all done, it's going to run an ESET virus scan on all of the data files that are on that computer, and then it is going to copy those data files, settings, and favorites into exactly the same location they were in on the old drive. So when that employee comes back and boots their computer the next day, and the screen opens up, the picture of the kids is back on the desktop, the spreadsheet they left in the top left corner is still there, and the only difference is the machine now boots 20 times faster than when they first started using it 4 years ago. The thing I want to make very clear is we are the no-ghosters. Ghosting brings bad things from the old drive to the new drive. What we are is installing clean, new, unpatched versions of Windows, Office, Skype, iTunes, Adobe Reader, Adobe Player, the 3 major browsers. What gets put on this computer is newly installed, unpatched software, so that you do not have to worry about bringing the problems that they had on the computer back onto the new drive. Next slide. Okay, so let's talk about the benefits to a small business. Obviously, improved performance means improved employee productivity. The elimination of malware, viruses, and bloatware means better security. Doubling the lifespan of the company's PCs obviously is going to save the company money. Purchasing a new computer is a whole lot more expensive than a fresh start, as you'll see in a minute. The significant cost savings to the company when compared to the cost of replacing those PCs we mentioned. And as Glenn mentioned, when you're finished, you're going to turn over that old drive with everything completely intact. We don't delete anything from the old drive. And that the employer now has a complete backup of everything on that previous computer. So bottom line, save money, improve performance, improve security. Next slide. What are the FreshStart benefits to managed service providers? Well, for one thing, it's a great new way to capture new customers. If you're trying to get into an account, we recommend that you offer to do a free survey of their current PC inventory and come in with a financially compelling proposal to literally double the lifespan of those computers and save them a ton of money on having to upgrade that. For your current customers, it's a great way to add some additional revenue to your business by doing these upgrades for their machines that are more than 3 years old. It'll dramatically reduce your trouble calls because you know those machines, when you leave, are 100% malware and virus free. And that's obviously going to help reduce your labor costs and keep your customers happy. Next slide. How to sell this to the small to medium-sized businesses. It's basically, find out how they get their current support. Some of this stuff you guys already know, but the main thing is it's an education. make sure they understand what they're losing from poor PC performance, how much that's costing them, and use the data that you're able to collect to be able to convince them that this is a smart thing to do. Next slide. I mentioned cost savings. Here's a very simple chart. If a customer has 10 PCs and they're typically 3 to 8 years old, let's say, to go and buy new computers. And by the way, if they have HDD drives, the average lifespan on an electromechanical drive is 3 to 5 years. So when those things die, they're either going to replace them, which is traditionally very expensive, or they're going to fresh start that machine, or they're going to have to buy a new one. So the cost of a new PC on average, about $1,200 per unit. The average MSP selling FreshStart today charges about $350 for an on-site FreshStart service per machine. That's a net cost savings to the customer of over $8,500. And the typical gross margin for the service provider is almost $3,000. Very little cost in doing a FreshStart because it's low-cost labor. It only takes about 15 minutes worth of hands-on time. And the only other component costs are the price of our license keys and the price of the replacement drives. Next slide.
Hey, Alan, before we move off that point, are you going to cover the cost of the license keys here quickly in the drive?
Oh, yeah, the license keys, I'm sorry. The cost of the license keys are $20 for individual keys and $18 when you buy them in a 10-pack. These are available on our cyber-spa.com website. All you have to do is register with us as an MSP, and you'll see the form also available on our website. And once you've registered, downloaded the software, and you're ready to start offering the service, those keys are available. So you're talking about, an $18 key, and I can tell you the replacement 240 gig solid state drives for laptops, a good SanDisk is now only about $34. So very, very inexpensive componentry to a $350 service.
Awesome.
Okay, this is a form we created just to make it easy for you. If you're going into a new customer, you want to do an offering to do an inventory for them. This will help you determine, which machines are candidates for fresh starts, how much data is on those machines, so how big of drives do they need, et cetera, et cetera. But we found this to be a very good tool for MSPs to be able to come back and say, okay, here's what we can do for you. And so that's really what this form represents. Next slide. Okay, so a couple of really important points I want to make in terms of delivering FreshStart service as an MSP. When you go to the website and you look at our training videos and you look at the MSP video on our MSP tab on the cyber-spa.com website, you'll see this is a fairly simple, very automated process to deliver. The important thing is planning, making sure that you have everything that you need to do before you go on site to do those PC fresh starts. And this includes making sure you have ordered the drives. The drives have already been imaged out using your service computer at the office the day you go out to do the service. Making sure you have adequate docks or cables to be able to do multiple machines at once. If you're fresh starting desktops and you're upgrading them to SSD drives, you'll obviously need to have ordered adapter cages for those drives. And the last little image here is if the customer wants them, you can make a nice little markup on selling these cases so that you can put their old solids or old HDD in the case, put a sticker on it and say, this is Mary's hard drive from December 17th, 2017. And that drive can either be used as a backup or used as an archive drive. From a purchasing standpoint, I told you how to buy the keys, very simple to do. As far as buying drives, quite frankly, the easiest way to do that today is on Amazon, and the prices are very inexpensive. Next slide. So what do you need to do to get started with FreshStart? Go to our website tab, watch the video on that. That'll give you an overview, a lot of what we've talked about and some other points. Decide which techs or techs you'd like to have trained. Fill out the registration form. Once we get the form, we will contact you and we can set up a tech training webinar for them to participate in if you would like. These are interactive as this, you know, and we found those to be very effective to get your techs ready to offer the service. You have to set up a service computer and download the FreshStart software to make sure you're ready to image those drives. Obviously, identify your first target customer and close that sale. In the meantime, order your FreshStart keys. Those are orderable online on our website, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, etc. The keys are delivered within 24 hours of your order. The replacement solid-state drives, obviously, once you know which ones the customer's needs, will have to be ordered. Image those drives the same day you plan to install them so that the virus definitions are current and you know that you've got a clean virus scan going on those drives. And then go to the site, install the drives, connect the old drives, and while the automated service is running, bring a good book with you. And that is a FreshStart on site. Tools available, training videos, sales and marketing materials, links to purchase drives if you decide you want to buy them from our Accutech reseller site. You can register for that. Or as I said, you can get them right off Amazon. So pretty much everything you need can be found on that website link. If you have any problems or questions, you can reach out to any of the email addresses you see there. Next slide. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Alan. So how would you use this to open up a managed service provider? Well, one of the things I did when we got started, we had one of our investors as a CPA. And as CPAs, they were having a lot of IT issues and were really intrigued by what we were doing. Being CPAs, they did what CPAs do, and they actually kept track of how much time they were losing every single quarter for 6 quarters, 7 quarters, 6 quarters. And what you see here is that on average, they were losing about 125 hours of productivity every single quarter. So when you do all the math, you can see the math over on the right side. But the point is we can use this data then to put a value on what the cost is of lost productivity. And that's exactly what we do on the next slide. So if we went with and expanded on the earlier example of fresh starting 10 PCs, and you take that $8,500, what can you do with that same original $12,000 investment? What can you do with that in order to not just give them this fantastic boost up front, but actually keep their machines running well over the long term? And so we have a cost calculator that goes ahead, an ROI calculator that breaks out what the savings are for a customer, not just for doing the FreshStart, but also for doing the FreshStart and adopting your managed services to keep everything running cleanly. So that's available to you guys as well. As far as tools and support, you guys know us pretty well. The only thing I'll add is we recently added an order form on the web where you can just go to uplevelsystems.com/order and just be aware that that is no longer deal registration. That's actually ordering equipment. So we will start billing 30 days after we ship. So when you have a customer that you want to sign up and you need equipment for, go ahead and place your orders there. The rest of this is all as you guys have seen fit. And so that really is the whole webinar today. Alan, there were a couple of questions that came in. If you don't mind, I'd like to maybe get them asked while you're here. So one of the things that the guy said was obviously you're doing the ESET scan, the virus scan before you bring stuff over. And then ESET is installed as an antivirus on the machine afterwards. And so one of the questions is, if they're not using ESET, how do they deal with that basically?
Yeah, thanks. That's very simple. If they have a license with another antivirus tool, then at the end of the service, you can simply delete the ESET application and you can reload that antivirus tool. The chances are, if there was a license key for the antivirus tool stored on that computer, our software will harvest that. As I mentioned earlier, we have a folder that is created with every FreshStart service that collects any third-party software license keys. So if they had an accounting program or if they had a game or something on there that they paid for, that key will be back there and they can easily re-download the application, or the tech can re-download the application after the FreshStart service is completed.
Perfect. And I'll follow that on. I'll be the straight man here. I know you can reinstall apps, but there's some apps that you guys bring over automatically too. And could you talk to that as well?
Yeah, so the things that are automatically installed are basically the operating system, obviously. If we find a license key for any supported version of Office, that will be installed. We also auto-install VLC LAN player. We auto-install Adobe Reader, Adobe Player, and then we will install Skype, iTunes, or any of the 3 major browsers if they were detected on the old drive. So if somebody had Google Chrome but didn't have Firefox, Google Chrome will be installed, the favorites will be moved over, and Firefox will be deleted at the end of the automated program.
Perfect. All right. Well, that's everything we have. So thanks for your time, Alan. This has been great. Greatly appreciate it. And again, if the guys want to get going, where do they head to?
cyber-spa.com/MSP, and we're looking forward to working with them.
Awesome. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.